Do you miss that rivalry with Leeds? I mean, that was amazing, wasn't it, Chelsea Leeds?
Well, I think it's great to be a player, and you want to play against Leeds every week. You want to play against it because you've got to be at your best. I always say about individuals, play against Alan Ball, Tony Curry. They're the players you want to play against every week. And then you've got to be at the top of your games. Other players you can think, I might have a drink tonight or something, because I'm only playing against, But not that you've done that, but that's a kind of thing you might do. But no, Leeds was always a special game, and I've had some great memories playing against Leeds, beating them, and I've had my worst memories, but I've only played up at Ellen Road a couple of times and had a complete nightmare. So that's probably how they judge me,
Yeah, because most of the home fans don't travel, do they? A lot of the home fans.
Well, plus the fact they're so fickle, aren't they? They're being Hudson. Look at Hudson, But we beaten in the two biggest games. The one I missed at Old Trafford, obviously, the Chelsea one in '70, and when we beat them at Stoke in '75 when they were going to break the record, and that was fantastic because we were 2-0 down and they were, swaggering,
cruising. Yeah. We had just talking about Chelsea Leeds a few years ago when Benitez was the manager of Chelsea. A good friend of mine who used to own the aquarium, Lou, he was a Leeds fan. So we went up there to the game and we got a few mates who are Leeds fans, and Dave come with us. So we were in there and Chelsea went a goal down just before half time. So in the concourse out at half time, I've never seen a better feeling inside. They're all singing the Leeds songs and all that and slagging off the Cockneys, and they're all getting pissed and they're all really, really enjoying it. And it's at half time, right? So they went out 10 minutes into the second half and they were 3-1 down. And Chelsea done it 5-1 in.
Well,
but they were calling Benitez a fat Spanish waiter that night.
It might still be, But no, I think I did this podcast with Eddie Gray the other week, and it was quite good, and well, it was very good. It was a little bit sad that Eddie couldn't come out and say what I would say. Everybody that played for Leeds was great, and people that went there were great. Oh, you mentioned a player, the best, And I said to him, did you never have any average players at Leeds? Like what? In the film with Don Revie,
Yeah.
And Brian Clough, and he says you messed about with world-class players, and Brian Clough said what? Terry Yorath and people like that. Eddie Gray's brother, Frankie, wasn't it? And he named 3 or 4 players. He said, they're calling them world-class, and that was what they were like at Leeds. They put they bracketed themselves there, but they weren't. Like at Chelsea, they always say, don't they? Cook, Hudson, Osgood, McGree was always picked in the world team. Benetti was always in the world, Every team has them, and every had great players and not so great players. But everybody at Leeds is great. Don't get that one.
You just spoke about Brian Clough. When you first met him, you weren't that impressed, were you?
Well, I wasn't, because I wasn't surprised. I met him at the airport on the way to Amsterdam in '75. We were playing Ajax, and a photographer come over and said, will you come over and have your photo? Because he just got the sack at Leeds. And they said, will you come over and have a photograph with Brian Clough? Now, I stupidly thought that he might have requested a photograph with me. Maybe, But no. So I went, yeah, Mr. Clough, yeah. I had so much respect for the man.
Would you like to have played for him?
Absolutely. But you want to play for people, great managers like that, because you want to show them how good you are, and you're playing for them. And that is what life's all about.
I mean, he took sort of, without being disrespectful, he took some average players and made them great players, I think.
No, he didn't make them great players. They done great things.
Yeah,
didn't they?
Yeah, they done great things. Yeah.
What he done in Oxford was I don't think any other man could have done it.
No, it's not really been done since anything like that, has it?
Well, you can't. It's like me sending you down North End Road now and getting half a dozen people and say, well, put 5 great players with them and we'll win the Champions League. Well, you can't.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what he done. And there's no disrespect to half a dozen players he had in his team, but he had a couple of people like Kenny Burns, which you see the great Kenny Burns. He was a great player, you know, but he was cast aside. He bought Francis, and the story, I know the story's true. When he first bought Trevor Francis, was he first million or second?
Yeah, first £1 million player, yeah.
They were playing the Germans in Europe, and he couldn't play because he didn't qualify at that time. He signed too late, and he come in after the game. They beat the Germans at the City Ground, and all the mud and splattered on the floor and all this, and he come in dressed up as the first £1 million player, didn't he? And he always knew clobber, you know, and he went, great result, boss, great result. He said about great result, take your coat up, hang it up and start mopping up the floor with the others. And that's a true story, you know, and that's how you bring people down to earth, you know.
Did you write to him?
I did, yeah. I write them the most, yeah. I was just so annoyed because his great friend, my great friend Alan Hinton, he was my boss in Seattle, and the same trip in Amsterdam, actually it was that trip on the return leg home. He told my mate, who was now my boss, is that I fell off the bar stool at Amsterdam airport. Well, that was new to me. That was. I thought, how can people say that? And I was driving back home that day. It was you can't see it at the moment because of the trees, but it was a glorious day, and going along the water, and I was livid. And I sat down and wrote him a letter when I got home. I talked about people in glass houses not throwing stones and all this, and you never mentioned this game when I come, and I helped you get you to sack when I made 2 goals in your first game for Leeds. Oh, I fucking threw the basket out of the lot, and never thought no more of it. And then a year later, Alan took me back to England with him, looking for players. He said, first stop Nottingham. So that was him. But he done it superbly. I mean, he must have known it was coming, because we waited till after the game. They left us till last. We'd just come on a long flight, and I didn't really fancy it at all, never knowing what was coming. And he had this on his desk. He had a load of all his mates sitting around, all reporters, and you know, who he had in his pocket, whatever. And he was just pouring the trays of drinks out with brandy and champagne. No sooner we sat down, I walked past his desk, sat in the corner, and he says, well, he didn't even look at me, he just went, and I got your letter, young man. And as he said it, I jumped up. I just went, you know, you've got to get your first play. And I went, look, before you start, I said, it weren't him telling me tales, and I just went in. He said, don't worry, he said, you can have the first drink, he said, because you got balls. And that was it.